Hey there, it's Dr. Mary Barbera here, and I think I am live right here with you guys on YouTube. If you are joining me, I am going to be answering autism questions. I'm going to also be talking about my background and also my new book, which is coming out in 30 days on March 30th. It will be out officially, but it is available for pre-order now. So if you are joining me, if you can let me know here, that would be awesome. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. So let me just do one more thing technically, and then we will be rocking and rolling. So I know people are trickling in because I did not plan this, but I am Dr. Mary Barbera, and I am impromptu going to jump on here live to answer autism questions, to answer questions about signs of autism in toddlers, or any other questions regarding children with delays in language, having problem behaviors, having difficulties with eating, sleeping, potty training, tolerating going to the doctors, dentists, getting haircuts, wearing masks, getting COVID testing, you name it, I can cover it. For those of you that don't know me, I fell into the autism world. I say that with quotes. In the late 1990s, when my husband first mentioned the possibility that my son, Lucas, might have autism. And I was the mom of two boys by that point. My son, Lucas, was 21 months of age, and my son, Spencer, was just 2 months of age. And I had never before thought about Lucas having autism. It kind of freaked me out. And I told my husband on that day that I never, ever wanted to hear the word autism again. At the time, I was a master's prepared nurse. Now I am, in addition to being a registered nurse, I maintain my license for that. I'm also a board certified behavior analyst, mom to a son with autism, moderate to severe autism. Lucas is now 24 years of age and remains impaired and needs 24/7 supervision. And then I have a son, Spencer, who is in medical school. So all along, I've figured out how to help Lucas. And in 2007, very long time ago, I published my first book, The Verbal Behavior Approach, How to Teach Children with Autism and Related Disorders. It's available in over a dozen languages. And I've traveled all around the world speaking about the procedures and the approach in this book. But it is actually not as good as my new book, which is coming out in just 1 month on March 30th. This book will be available. It will be mailed. It will be in hardback. This is actually a paperback draft of the book, but it'll be in hardback. I read the book for Audible, so it's in my voice, which is super exciting, and it's also available on Kindle. And right now, if you go to turnautismaround.com, you can pre-order the book and get all the pre-order bonuses, which include right now the first 2 chapters. We're going to get a couple more chapters in the book launch team. We also have some video interviews with Dr. Temple Grandin, who wrote the foreword for my book. I have many, many dozens of endorsements from both professionals and parents. And I'm really excited about my new book, which, I mean, my first book was just a total surprise that it really sold well, is still selling better than ever. It really gave me a platform to get the word out to both professionals and parents that there's a newer approach to apply behavior analysis. I am a board certified behavior analyst, so all of my procedures are under the umbrella of scientifically proven strategies, but my strategies are also come from my background as a registered nurse, my background as a mom, my background as an advocate. So my procedures are child-friendly, super supportive, and not just for kids with autism, also kids with early signs of autism, early signs of speech delays, early signs of ADHD, because when you have a 2-year-old, it is actually really difficult to tell if it's autism or not. Okay, so I see we have some people. Thank you for commenting. If you have questions, you can type them in and I will try to get to as many as I can. I don't know how long I'm going to be on. It's a really rainy day here in Pennsylvania. Let me know where you're viewing from. If you're just joining us, I am going to be answering some autism questions, talking about my new book, which all the details for that is at turnautismaround.com. I'm going to take that off the screen for a bit and answer some questions that I am getting. Okay, so Marilyn says, how do I help my child's father to stop being embarrassed that our child has autism and doesn't want anyone to know? How do I help him say it out loud? I have a special needs child or a child with autism. Yeah. So if you caught the first part of my introduction here, or if you know anything about my story, I was the one I wasn't embarrassed. I was like, it's not autism. Be quiet. I never want to hear the word again. When my husband, who's a physician, first mentioned the possibility of autism. So I was the one in denial, and I was the one who was in denial for over a year, probably closer to a year and a half, before Lucas actually got the diagnosis. So I actually interviewed my husband for my Turn Autism Around podcast. That's going to be playing in a couple of weeks from now. So if you haven't subscribed, you can do that. Go wherever you listen to podcasts, Turn Autism Around, Google that. But, I asked my husband this because I was so in denial and didn't want to talk about autism. And this is the late 1990s, and autism was only occurring in 1 in 500, and now it's about 1 in 50, with 1 in 6 kids having some kind of developmental disorder, whether that's autism, ADHD, learning disabilities. So 1 in every 6 children have some kind of developmental disorder. So there's a statistic that might help him realize that it's not some rare thing. 1 in 50 at least have autism. So I would search Mary Autism Denial to watch the video blog I had on it. But there's a lot of hope, especially if your child is very young and the diagnosis is new. There's a lot of hope that things can turn around. Some of my former clients are now in college driving. So the range of the autism spectrum is very wide, and maybe he doesn't want to tell everybody he knows about autism, that his son has autism, especially if it's a newer diagnosis. Some people, it does take months or even sometimes years to really be very outward with the diagnosis. So I would just say learn more about denial, and really learn more. Like, my book would be so helpful for you to read, for him to read, for him to listen to a podcast and see some of the success stories. Some of the parents I've interviewed both moms and a few dads for my podcast. And so, my husband's advice was basically, okay, if he doesn't want to say autism, then let's just tell people that he has a speech delay and that he's in speech therapy and he needs some time to get caught up. And that's not a lie. He probably does have a speech delay or needs speech therapy. So I remember I didn't want to tell people in the beginning, and my developmental pediatrician said, you don't have to tell the world right today. You don't have to tell people that don't know your first and last name, that don't have your cell phone number. Like, it is private information, and you don't have to go sharing it with the world. And maybe you just need to kind of get on the same page, like, okay, we're going to really focus on his speech delays, or we're going to really focus on helping him catch up in these areas. And so that would be my advice. Kind of a long-winded answer. And Marilyn is from New York. Okay. Australia in the house, Lily Daisy, who's a top fan, and I know I recognize her name from being in the book launch team. So if you do join the book launch team, you can, which all the details are at turnautismaround.com. You would pre-order the book, and there's links to how to do that. And then you get into our private Facebook group, which is approaching 500. Very like-minded parents, professionals. There's a bunch of grandmoms in there too. And we're really making the move to change the way autism is detected and treated as early as possible. Maria's here. She's another top fan and very much a part of our online courses as well as our book launch team. She said the more empowered your husband feels about handling your son and teaching him, the less overwhelmed he will be about telling others. Knowledge is power, and Mary's courses could help your husband get better understanding and truly learn that your son will do better. Yeah. Excellent. Thank you so much, Maria, for chiming in here. Okay, let me see what kind of questions we have on this platform. So there's a couple questions like, what are my thoughts on the NEMCheck protocol, or what are my thoughts on biomedical intervention? And really what I say, I don't know much about the NEMCheck protocol. Like I couldn't even tell you what it is in 2 minutes. And biomedical intervention, that's like a huge, huge topic. So in my book, I talk about how children need an assessment as the first step of the Turn Autism Around approach. And that assessment needs to include a medical assessment. And my son, Lucas, has had, sleeping problems. He's tried different medications. He's for sleeping problems mainly. He has tried, there is some research on the zinc to copper ratio being off with kids with autism. He still gets zinc every night. He is on melatonin for his sleep for over 2 decades. So some people would consider that medical intervention. Some people would consider that biomedical intervention. So as a whole, what I believe in is truly empowering parents to detect the earliest signs of autism and other delays, to learn proven strategies to behaviorally treat that, and to work with professionals, medical professionals, physicians, therapists, ABA practitioners, speech therapists, occupational therapists, to work with them to treat your child individually. And one of the big things about medical intervention is if someone says that diarrhea is a part of autism, or that aggression is a part of autism, or that sleeping issues are just a part of autism. They are very common in autism. Picky eating is very common in autism, but that doesn't mean that that's it, and it's not genetically based and tied into autism. It is related to a bunch of factors, and some of it could be medical factors. So just in general, my courses, everything I do is based on a behavioral approach. But like I said, with my nursing background, then you get that, and my mom background, and everything is a child-friendly empowerment. I want each child, both of my sons, who are very different, to be as safe as possible, as independent as possible, and as happy as possible. And that's my goal for all of your kids as well. Raquel says, can your class help a child who's 11 years old with sleeping, potty training, and behavior? Yes. You'll want to go to, my book will help. It won't be out for a month, but especially if you have a younger child, I have the toddler preschooler course, which helps with all those areas: talking, tantrums, potty, sleep. And then I have the verbal behavior bundle for older kids and for parents and professionals working with a wide range of ages and ability levels. So definitely my stuff would help with 11-year-old with sleeping, potty training, and behavior reduction. And also finding professionals and how to know if the professionals working with them to make sure that they are working on the right things in the right order. So for any information about the courses, I would go to marybarbera.com/workshop, or just search Mary Autism Workshop, and you'll probably find any advice, and you'll find the link. Okay. And somebody is typing in here, what about a cure for autism? Currently, autism is a wide range of symptoms and a wide range of abilities and age. And there is no cure for autism, but there is the ability to make progress in all of these areas. And the spectrum is so huge that you could have a child who is, I interviewed Amanda V, I think is her name. That's her name. I don't know if she goes by Mandy or Amanda. I worked with her son when he was 2. He was banging his head on the cement, and she contacted me a decade later and said he's straight A's, he plays football, he's fully conversational, gave her permission to be on my podcast. You know, hearing some of these success stories, I mean, he still has autism. He knows he has autism. He gave her permission to talk about his autism, and he's only 12. The sky's the limit for a child like that. And I did another video blog, is you can't tell how a child is going to be or what they're going to be like when they're 2. You can't tell what they're going to be like at 12 or 22. And so we need to work on increasing talking, decreasing tantrums, working on sleeping, eating, potty training, so that not just working towards a better future, but also working towards a better present and a happier, safer child, happier family. Okay. Let me go back here. I'm not going to be able to get to all of these questions. I do appreciate you guys hopping on. If you are late to my live, this is an impromptu live, and I am answering questions, but I'm also talking about my book, which is going to be out in 30 days. On March 30th, it's going to be delivered to your home if you pre-order now. Also, if you pre-order, you can join the book launch team. You can have early access to the first few chapters. You can have early access to some Temple Grandin videos, which are excellent. Temple Grandin is the most famous person with autism in the world, I think. And she wrote the foreword for my book, and she is very interested in helping spread the word that it doesn't matter if it is sensory processing disorder or early signs of ADHD or early signs of a learning disability, or if it's early signs of autism, with or without a diagnosis. We need to keep children engaged in appropriate activities. We need to know what to do with tantrums, how to get children to talk, and how to get them doing all the kinds of things that they should be doing at their age. So I often say it's never too early and it's never too late. All right, so we have somebody viewing from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which is about an hour from my home. My child is 7, almost 8 now, still nonverbal, but can understand most basics. We have hope and treat him like an ordinary child. He still has many challenging behaviors and eating issues. So even though my book is written, it's called Turn Autism Around, an action guide for parents of young children with early signs of autism, basically for kids that are 1 to 5 real age, chronological age, but also ages 1 to 5 developmentally. So if she's got a 7-year-old, almost 8-year-old who's still not talking, has problem behaviors, then that child and many children that are even older, in many areas, my son who's 24 is still functioning in some areas like a 1 to 5-year-old in terms of language. He's not conversational, and so the methods in this book will work, and the methods in my online courses will work as well. Okay, hello from Houston. Excellent. Looks like you've had a better week in Houston than you did the previous week. Lily Daisy says, love learning from you. Excellent. I love to see those top fans here. What would you suggest to teach flexible thinking to these kids? My child resists a lot, and right thinking has affected his life badly. Yeah, so I really focus mostly on kids at the developmental age of a 1 to 5-year-old. So we get kids that usually are not conversational. And then once they become conversational, you need to use other programs and other techniques, flexible thinking programs, different assessments. I am familiar with a lot of those assessments and a lot of those strategies, but my podcast, my video blogs, my courses, my old book, my new book, they're all focused on kids that aren't quite conversational or have problems with sleeping, potty training, eating, talking. So I don't really specialize in the higher level flexible thinking, teaching them jokes and teaching them high level social skills. All right, here's a question from Jody. I find it really hard to tell if my 2-year-old daughter actually understands my instructions as she isn't speaking yet. So I have a lot of video blogs I go on how to teach body parts, like touch your head. And one of the really common mistakes people make is when they say touch your head or go get your shoes, they often gesture or touch your head. Or like I used to do, I believed that Lucas could touch his body parts. So when people ask me, oh, can he touch his body? Oh, yeah, he could touch his body parts. But then when they tested him, he couldn't touch his body parts. And then they're like, well, how is he touching his body parts for you? And I was like, oh, well, you have to sing, the Barney song. First we touch our head and then toes and then belly and then knees and nose. Like you have to go in that order. You have to sing the song. You have to touch with him. So one of the ways to tell if your daughter is understanding is not to give visual prompts when you're asking her to actually sit on your hands and say, touch head, touch nose, where's your belly, go get your shoes, without pointing, without showing. And this is the way you can assess receptive language, which is a big part of language. It's not just speaking, it's also understanding. And that's covered a lot in my book as well as in my toddler course. So if you've never heard of my toddler course, never heard of me or my book, I would sign up for the book, turnautismaround.com. Also, we'll send you a workshop you can watch, and consider joining the online course, because while the book is going to be great, the online course is going to show you videos, provide a community so that you can really learn what to do, because time is of the essence, no matter how old your child is. All right, Dolores, Grandmom Dolores is here in the house. Awesome. She's in our online course as well as our book launch team. Heather has been in our online courses forever, probably since 2015 or 2016. Excellent that you're finding me live. Yeah, this is an impromptu live. I hate to even say this out loud, but I am planning to go live every day in March. So you may want to set your notifications. If you like this, if you want to tune in, you may want to set your notifications on and be watching for me a lot more live. I've been waiting for 2 years. This is from Ashley. to get an assessment for my son. He is 5, still won't go to the potty. He's hard to discipline. Timeouts do not work. Is there better ways other than timeouts? Yes, there is, Ashley. Actually, I have a whole box in my book about timeouts in chapter 6 on page, doesn't really matter what page it is, but okay. So page 89 of my new book is a box called Should You Use Timeout and Other Punishments? And the answer is a big fat no. Almost every case of timeout that I've ever seen has not been done correctly, and timeout doesn't teach a child what to do. I did write a video blog on disciplining children with autism, and basically the word discipline actually means teaching. And my book really outlines a very positive, child-friendly approach so that you don't use timeout or punishments. So I encourage you to get the book and to consider our online courses as well. Yes, I am live right now, Samira. How often should someone with autism be reassessed? That's a great question. In my book and in my courses, I teach the parent how to assess and reassess. And I give you a one-page assessment form that you can do literally every couple of months. And I really think that that's the kind of assessment that needs to be done. But like a true wait in line, have insurance, pay, those kinds of assessments, it really varies. I used to tell my parents of my clients who were conversational or near conversational to get a speech and language evaluation every year to make sure that they weren't falling behind, because they were to the point where their language was so advanced that pretty much they look typical. But so for different people, just like anything else, if you have diabetes or cancer, or depends on the age, how long ago you were diagnosed, if you're stable, if you're still having problems. I know Lucas goes to a psychiatrist from the time he was 18 until currently. He goes every 6 months now. That's just like a medication check. I did one of my all-time favorite podcasts with Dr. Michael Murray, who is Lucas's psychiatrist. He's also a dad of a child with autism, or actually an adult Lucas's age with autism. And that is episode 28. So marybarbera.com/28. He is amazing, and that episode is amazing. We have Zuel here, and Zuel joined my courses a long time ago, and it helped her then 11-year-old son and her 6-year-old. They're living proof. And I believe Zuel has purchased the book and joined my launch team. But if you haven't, anybody just joining us, I really encourage you to pre-order my book. The first book that came out in 2007, The Verbal Behavior Approach, actually sold out before the day it was published, because the publisher did not expect the demand. So you don't want that to happen. Pre-order the book now. There is a pre-order price guarantee. So if it drops down lower, you'll get it for that price. Kika, I took your toddler course and later joined a support group with ASD adults. They told me to stop ABA. I got so confused. Okay, so there are people, mostly high-functioning adults with autism, who do not think that ABA, Applied Behavior Analysis, is the right kind of treatment. But the science is clear. It is based on the science of applied behavior analysis is proven. It's the science of changing behavior. Same procedures you would teach kids anything, the alphabet, regular kids, regular schools. It's the same principles that all the gaming, hearing a bing because you got it right. That's reinforcement. So it is based on positive reinforcement. And my approach to ABA, the verbal behavior approach and the turn autism around approach, are very child friendly. like I said, based on the science, but also based on my registered nurse background, my mom background, my advocate background. And so anybody that tells you to stop anything that's working doesn't know what you're doing. And so if I went into a house and they said, I am doing XYZ therapy, and my child went from 2 words to 500 words, I wouldn't say stop. I would say, tell me what you're doing. And I would listen. Because just generalizing that XYZ therapy is bad is not helpful. Or what would they suggest for a 2-year-old with signs of autism? Certainly they wouldn't suggest this book, because this book is the book I needed when my husband first mentioned the possibility of autism with Lucas. So this book is a step-by-step guide. My courses are step-by-step in nature and provide community support as well as real, solid, scientifically proven strategies that work. If they don't work, they should work, and ABA should work. And if it's not working, not all ABA is created equal, and not all board-certified behavior analysts are created equal. I know my approach, if done correctly, will work in the vast majority of cases. All right, Nadia, I'm from the UK. I have a 2-year-old who is nonverbal but will sing words along with songs. Awesome, using colors and letters. How do you make the transition to regular conversation? This is very common. There's a thing called hyperlexia, and this is when kids can read before they can speak, and a lot of kids will like memorize letters before they really have conversational abilities. So I talk a little bit about hyperlexia in my book. You can search Mary Autism Hyperlexia, and you don't just go from your child being obsessed with letters to conversation. Actually, everything is in the book, in my courses, about how you promote skills, build skills that may lead to conversation in the future. All right, well, we got a lot of questions. Aisha said, I really need this book. Yes, and I really am very, very excited that my book is coming out, because I feel like it's going to help a lot of people. Okay, so DJ said, thank you for confirming that timeout is wrong suggestion. Where do I go to order your book and answering my questions? TurnAutismAround.com. There, you're going to get instructions for how to pre-order the book. You can get it on Amazon. If you're in another country, there's an international link you can order from. You can also search in a different country, Turn Autism Around Approach book. India, for instance, and you might be able to find it there, or you can go to one of our links. Once you do pre-order the book, then take your confirmation code and put it in the TurnAutismAround.com, and we will get you into our Facebook group, and you're going to be part of our launch team to get the word out to others, and you'll get some pre-order bonuses, including the first 2 chapters now. Can you please tell me if your book covers SIBs, which stand for self-injurious behavior? Yes, we have a whole full chapter on reducing problem behaviors, including self-injurious behavior. And if your child is having serious self-injurious behavior, I just want to say that it can be very serious. It can be life-threatening if kids have serious self-injurious behavior. So you don't want to wait for my book or even just take my online course. You probably want to find a medical professional if it is a serious self-injurious behavior. I mean, there's just really horrific self-injurious behaviors that can cause real damage. Do you do online course about your book? I mean, like explaining it. Yes, my toddler preschooler course is basically this book in a course. And if your child is between the ages of 1 and 5, that is the book, that's the course I would start with. And so, yes. All right. So, Nancy says, I'm happy I found you. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us today. All right. There's probably a ton more questions I am not going to get to, but I am going to make a commitment to come back on here live every day, hopefully, barring unforeseen circumstances. So set your notifications for this group on so that you'll get notifications when I'm live, because I'm not sure how much pre-planning I'm going to be able to do. Also, I'll be going live on my book launch team with a much smaller group. So encourage you to get on the launch team, pre-order the book, watch the free workshops that explain the online courses if it's the right time for you. Jump into that as well. There's never been a better time to get this information and start making progress with your child or your clients starting today. So hope to see you on the book launch team. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon. Bye.